So this next construction is very specific to a particular skirt for one of my students. It's going to be a bit of trial and error as to whether it'll actually work or not. It's a denim with a textile created with pin tucks here, and there's actually going to be a bit of wire set into it. So my thought is that we actually have a basic shape of skirt in the pattern. The textile is done in the denim and then it's cut out, because it would be extremely difficult for my student to be able to create a pattern with all of these seams and everything like that. So I'm going to kind of try and keep it quite basic. So I'm going to do a high-waisted skirt with a little bit of flare, and the vent or the slit here in the front can be put in afterwards and faced when we see exactly how the textile is sitting. So I have laid out my blocks, my front skirt, my back skirt. I have also included a little section of my bodice block here because I'm going to do a high waist on it. I also want to try and minimise the size of the darts. That will have to be got rid of afterwards. So I'm going to reduce those down by taking a bit extra off my side seams just to make it a little bit easier. So the high waist I'm allowing for is about 6 centimetres on the side seam. Of course, this is completely down to personal preference, but I'm going to add on my 6 centimetres here, right up there at the very, very top. So I've brought that up 6 centimetres, and then it's not high-waisted as much the whole way across. It does actually dip down, so I'm going to bring that down to about 3 centimetres at the centre front, and the same at the back, about 3 centimetres from the actual waist on my skirt block. That's the dotted line for my bodice block, but I'm going by the waist on my skirt block. So I'm going up 3 centimetres there. And square that, kind of soften that up. Now I'm not going to go through that just yet. There is meant to be a little bit of a point here at the side seam, so I'm not going to do my usual squaring off. I'm going to allow that come down in a V, because again, if you look at the sketch, it's actually quite V'd here at the side seam. So again, soften that down on the front and square out the front 3 centimetres. Okay, so I am keeping that little section there nice and square. Now, as I said, I'm going to try and reduce the size of this dart. So I'm going to come in, I think the max I can really afford to come in is about 1.5. So I'm going to take 1.5 off here and soften my hip back out. Now, my student does want quite an exaggerated side seam here, so I think I can get away with having that at such a sharp angle. And then the same on the back, 1.5. So to keep the two of them the same. And then soften in my waistline. So I brought that in 1.5. So that bit there is going to be gone, and that bit there is going to be gone. So that means my dart here has been reduced by 1.5. So that just leaves me with a 1.5 dart. So that's 0.75 either side. So I can redraw in my reduced dart. Now, I'm going to be honest, this is complete trial and error on this one. Okay, and we just draw through for the rest of our waistline. So there's a fair chance this won't work out first time, but sure, that's what pattern drafting is always about, and that's why you do it well. Okay, 4 centimetre dart has now been reduced by 1.5, so that leaves me with a 2.5 centimetre dart. So again, get the centre and 1.25, 1.25, and draw in your reduced dart. And then out. And trace through. To make sure that you're getting a nice smooth line. To show you that. Okay, so I might just go over that correct dart in red so that you can see it. So this is now the dart that we're using. And this is my waistline. Okay, and I'll just show you that in the back as well. It's a smaller dart here. Again, fold out our dart. You can really see the difference when you don't fold out the dart. I'll show you this better. See, when you don't fold out the dart, there's kind of like a funny shape. But when you do fold out the dart, then you can really make sure you're getting a nice line through. I'll show you the difference now with the red pen. Such a much smoother line. And that is your back waist dart and your front waist dart. So they will have to be notched, or with tailor tacks rather, to make sure that the correct shape is taken. Okay, so that's the modification to the top of the skirt. The next thing we're going to do is get the length. So it's a full length skirt, which means a 42 inch from the actual waistline is a good length for a full length skirt. I'm going to measure down 42 from my centre front. And that brings me down to here. So 42 inches from the waist. I'm just going to square that all the way across for my hem. And right through to the back. Now I'm purposely going all the way further out than my centre back because there's a little bit of a kick on the end of this skirt that we're going to draw in now. So it's a nice bit of kick, so I'm going to go for about 6 inches at the bottom. So from my side seam, I'm measuring out 6 inches, front and back. So the back is going to continue out 6 inches, and then the front is going to continue out 6 inches. And sometimes you just kind of have to do this by eye, okay? But because it's kind of from about the knee, so the knee is about here, just above, it's between the kind of the 20 and 24 inches down. So just kind of take a bit of a flyer on this one and get my shape where I think I want it. I'm going to bring it in ever so slightly more than the block, and then that's it. So I've come in about 1 centimetre, about 20 inches down. So 20 inches down, I've come in about 1 centimetre, just to kind of help give a bit of a shape and a bit of a flow to my seam. And then at the hem here, you have to adjust and correct the shape of the hem, because obviously you can't leave that sharp angle there. So from here down, the line measured in centimeters, the line measures 53 centimeters. So we swing that over and make sure then that the new line measures 53 centimeters. And as you can see, that's a good little bit shorter than if you were going by the line of the hem. And you draw in your new hem, ensuring to square off at that corner, so that when you sew your two side seams together, you get the same size. Now, if you want, you could literally trace that section off and flip it over, but I'm just going to do it by hand. So again, I'm going to mark in about an inch here, where I've tapered it in, and then you can always just give yourself an extra little guide as to where you're aiming for. And smooth it. And again, make sure to correct the length of the line. So from the same point, so that's 52, 52, and square off the hem. Okay, so very, very important to make sure that the length of this line, which was your original side seam, is transposed onto your new side seam. So again, just to show you that, from this point here, 52, make sure to swing that over and make that 52. And then do the same on this side, make that 52. Okay, and then we're going to do the same on the back seam. I'm going to come out 6 inches. Now, at the back, I'm not going to nip it in underneath the bum, because I don't want to make it too tight. So I'm just going to aim for the same position. So again, I know at 9 centimeters down, I was 4. Again, you could just literally trace off that triangle and transpose it over, but I'm just going to draw it. So I'm adding flare onto the centre back seam as well, and then just soften that in. Okay, and then again, give yourself a notch. Measure the length of your line, which is 57, and then transfer that across. 7. So just to recap, the length of my centre back line to here was 57, so I'm just making sure my new line is 57. Now, if you wanted to have a bit of a train on the back of this, that will be where you would do it. So if you actually wanted the centre back to be a little bit longer, you would simply extend that line and then soften it back into your side seam. So I'll just show you how to do that. I'm just going to add on, I will just go, what's that, about 15 centimeters. So that just gives a little bit of kind of extra flair at the end. Now I'm kind of running out of paper, but you would simply, from your side seam here then, soften that in, and that would actually give you a little bit of a train if you wanted it. So from here, I added another 15 centimeters onto my centre back. So if you're wanting an extra little bit of a train on the back of the skirt, and then I've softened that all the way in, bearing in mind that my side seam now starts from over here, and soften that in. And that will be if you wanted an extra little bit of flare. Okay, and that is the construction for a high-waisted skirt with a little bit of flare on your side seams.